But we begin with an update on the explosive accusations facing the IRS. And as we reported on Friday, the agency is accused of targeting conservative political groups during the 2012 election cycle. However, tonight, Fox News can confirm that the additional scrutiny went well beyond simply harassing organizations with the words Tea Party or Patriot in their title. We're also learning tonight that the IRS guidelines, including groups that focused on government spending, debt, taxes, entities interested in making, quote, America a better place to live, and even those critical of how this country is run. And for the very first time, the president was asked about these downright un-American, taxpayer-funded witch hunts, and not surprisingly, he immediately declared his innocence. Watch this.
I first learned about it from the same news reports that I think most people learned about this. I think it was on Friday. You know, this is pretty straightforward. If, in fact, IRS personnel engaged in the kind of practices that have been reported on and were intentionally targeting conservative groups, then that's outrageous, and there's no place for it. You know, they have to be held fully accountable.
Now, while the president claims he only found out about this late last week, members of his own administration were reportedly alerted that conservative groups were being targeted nearly 2 years ago. Now, according to the Wall Street Journal, an upcoming report from the Treasury Department's Inspector General will reveal a top IRS lawyer named Lois Lerner was informed about this practice in June of 2011. However, almost a year later, after Lerner was briefed, her boss, the commissioner of the IRS, appeared before lawmakers and Congress and denied that this was taking place. Watch this.
Can you give us assurances that the IRS is not targeting particular groups based on political leanings?
First, let me start by saying yes, I can give you assurances. As you know, we pride ourselves on being a non-political, nonpartisan organization. And so there's absolutely no targeting. This is the kind of back and forth that happens when people apply for 501c4 status.
All right, joining me now with reaction, somebody who has been working behind the scenes for years to expose this abuse of power by the IRS and the Obama administration. Nationally syndicated radio talk show host, we call him the Great One, Mark Levin. We dragged him out of his bunker tonight. Great One, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you, Sean.
All right, that comment that we just played by the head of the IRS denying that this was taking place, even though they knew about it a year prior, that was 1 day later. You, through your organization, the Landmark Legal Foundation, filed this report that really got this ball rolling with the Inspector General's office. So the timing of this was very key. Why don't you walk us through how this all got started?
Well, first of all, I just heard you play the clip of the president say, if this is true. Did he not hear his own IRS official on Friday confess and apologize to the facts, the limited amount of facts that are on the table? Of course it's true. The IRS just said it's true that they've been targeting the Tea Party and other conservative groups. That's number one. Number two, I was not familiar with that testimony when we filed our complaint with the Inspector General at the Treasury Department and the Tax Administration Division. We were approached on March 5th of last year. The person didn't want their name to come out, and so that made it a little difficult. We had the information at the time, including this horrific letter with threats of perjury and all these outrageous questions on it from the IRS to one of the tax organizations. So it took us about 2 weeks to be able to persuade the individual to allow us to go forward. I spoke to a number of my former colleagues from the tax division of the Justice Department. As you know, I worked at the Justice Department to figure out the best way to approach this. And so we decided at Landmark Legal Foundation, it wasn't so much representing individual groups as putting an end to this and investigating the Internal Revenue Service. That's why we went to the Treasury Department Inspector General. And Jay Sekulow and his group have done a terrific job representing the individual tax groups. But what troubles me the most about this, Sean, well, not the most, but one of the issues that troubles me is the passivity and timidity of Congress. The fact is, a year ago, Congress should have been calling witnesses before their committees, should have placed them under oath, should have been pursuing possible perjury claims and should have gotten to the bottom of this before the election cycle ran out. Why, for the life of me, these committee chairmen now are beating their chests and they're talking about all the hearings they're going to conduct. Why, for the life of me, they didn't do this a year ago is very troubling. And I'm going to tell you why, in my humble opinion. Because it involved the Tea Party. And the Republican Party is no great cheerleader for the Tea Party and other conservative groups. And so they were relatively dismissive. They fired off a few letters, they asked a few questions, but they didn't really conduct an aggressive, focused investigation to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, but shouldn't they have been, Mark? I mean, we have constitutionally protected rights to freedom of speech, freedom of association. Your letter went into great detail. The questions that they were asking these groups, which now we have now discovered were based on political motivation. This sounds to me like an enemies list. So why didn't they do their job? Because this, like Benghazi, we should have gotten to the bottom of before the election. I think that's a good point.
It was an enemies list, but it only had one enemy on it, conservatives, and specifically Tea Party. Chairman Camp, I believe his name is, of the House Ways and Means Committee, put out a statement today about this hearing they're going to have on Friday. And it's very genetic, very bureaucratic. They're going to look into politically partisan activities of the IRS. This isn't about politically partisan activities by the IRS. This is about an attack on the Tea Party and the conservative movement. MoveOn.org wasn't on there. Media Matters wasn't on there. The words progressive weren't used or liberal. It was Tea Party, Patriot, Constitution, We the People. Any word or collection of words that would trigger attacks on conservatives and conservative groups. So what they need to be investigating is exactly what the IRS just confessed to, which is targeting conservatives and Tea Party groups, not this generic watered down, we're going to see if the IRS was partisan. I can answer that under oath. Yes, they were partisan. Now find out exactly what they did.
Well, I think all good points that you're making here. Now, the question is, they tried to dismiss this. Let me backtrack. If you look at Benghazi, Mark, and Jay Carney, who's now basically a paid liar for the White House, there are only stylistic differences in the talking points. There weren't stylistic differences. It was a dramatic 180 shift from the truth to a lie that they built. In this particular case, you know, now we have the IRS out there. They're targeting conservative groups, and they're trying to say that these are low-level underlings. Is that going to fly? And the president and also Jay Carney saying, well, this is an independent organization. Do you buy that?
Well, I think we should not pay attention to what Carney and Obama say because they're utterly, well, I won't say it on your show, but they lie all the time. And the fact of the matter is, when it comes to the IRS information, I don't know how on the one hand they say, we don't know what took place, and on the other hand they say, well, we had nothing to do with it. It doesn't matter what they say. What the committees in Congress now need to do is they have an Article I responsibility, is to bring in the revenue agents from Cincinnati and other places, as well as the most senior officials at the IRS, work it top down, bottom up, get the information under oath in public hearings, and the focus needs to be on what the IRS has already confessed to and see if it broadens out from there.
All right, we're going to take
I don't think the Democrats are going to be that helpful. We'll see.
I tend to doubt it. All right, Mark, let's go for this news story. It broke on Drudge earlier today, and that is the government tapping the AP, their phone records. They've been doing it for months. You got Benghazi, you got the IRS scandal, now we got this invasion into people's privacy. What do you make of it?
First of all, I want you to think about this. Apparently, they tapped 20 lines for the Associated Press, affecting about 100 reporters. You know, I was a chief of staff to an attorney general in the Reagan administration. I can promise you, if we had done that, that would be the end of everything. And it's one thing to be doing leak investigations, but that is such a broad attack on a news agency. I've never heard of such a thing. And the fact of the matter is, Sean, that the media need to understand that when some of us are trying to defend the Second Amendment and the Ninth Amendment and the 10th Amendment and the Fourth Amendment and the Fifth Amendment, the Bill of Rights generally, the Constitution generally, The First Amendment, free speech, the First Amendment, religious liberty, and the media throw in with this administration and basically are the Praetorian Guard for this administration. The day would come, and the day has now come, where freedom of the press is under attack. And this is the extent to what we know. There may be more, but the tap, reportedly 20 lines involving 100 reporters and God knows what else that they were doing with the AP, is a disgrace. And
well,
Eric Holder had to have known about it and had to have approved it.
Well, you got not only you got the freedom of press, but you got freedom of speech. Patriot, Tea Party, Constitution, government waste, fraud and abuse. All of a sudden now you become a target of the IRS. Same with associations here. When you look at the questions that on the IRS case, I guess the question I have is a political question, because I personally don't even think this is political. I think this is a matter of fundamental fairness for the American people and whether or not they're going to care. Because when Benghazi comes up, they drag their feet, they delay, they misinform. Then when finally information comes out, then they say it's a long time ago. I would expect in all of these scandals, probably the same strategy would be used, no?
This is a matter of big government tyranny is what it is, and the left embraces it, and they have this mentality. It's perfectly fine when somebody else's ox is being gored, but when it's theirs, then suddenly, wait a minute, you're not allowed to do this. This is the problem. The government's getting bigger and bigger, and power is more and more centralized. And Obama, whenever there's a problem, he has these excuses. Well, that's an independent agency. Well, that's low level. Well, they're playing politics. Folks, it's real world. The IRS is out of control. The Department of HHS with Obamacare is out of control. The Agriculture Department with the scandal with the payoffs to different groups is completely out of control. The Interior Department and oil drilling. The government is big, it's bloated, it's getting more and more powerful, and if you believe in liberty, you better start paying attention.
Well, and we better look at the
This is why Congress has a job, and they better do it.
Well, to me, this is very simple. The American people, I would think, deserve the truth. The families of these 4 dead Americans deserve the truth, not lies that were spun after the fact to protect themselves politically. I think we deserve the truth about the IRS. The press, I would think, would want to know the truth about why they're tapping the phones of reporters. It seems to me Democrats would want the answers to that, wouldn't they?
Well, look at this Benghazi matter. We all know, even people who are paying half attention, that there were 12 iterations of the talking points. Why are the talking points important? Because that was the sheet of music the administration was going to sing off of, whether it was in front of Congress, whether it was to we the people, whether it was in any other forum, and it was a flat-out lie. They didn't work at this to try and get the facts straight. They worked at this to try and redact the facts. And the facts were that they knew it was an al-Qaeda-related group that attacked our compound, that murdered our ambassador and 3 other men, and they're still lying about it. Obama today is still talking about a video which had absolutely nothing to do with it. And so the question is, are we going to have a select investigative committee where resources are focused and drag these people through subpoenas? And if they don't honor them, hold them in contempt? And if they lie under oath, prosecute them for perjury? Are we going to keep chasing our tails on this?
What would you recommend? You select committee on this? Select committee on what happened in Benghazi? There needs to be
Congressman Frank Wolf, who's a man of moderate temperament, and he's been around a long time. He happens to be my congressman. I don't agree on everything, but he's a very responsible man. He's pushing to have a select committee in the House. 65% of the Republicans have signed a petition to get a select committee. There's only one person who won't do it, and it's Boehner. And I'm told today one of the reasons they're giving is they don't have enough money. Now that's a liberal argument. Do we want to get to the bottom of this or not, or do we want to keep chasing our tail? Seems to me we need to get to the bottom of this right now.
American people have a right to the truth on all of these very serious allegations, and I would imagine, Mark, if it was a Republican, that we'd probably be getting a lot different response, especially from the media and elsewhere, but we'll stay on it. Great one. Why is it so hard to get you out of the bunker, put a little powder on your head? Why is that so hard?
Well, why is it that hard? Because about now I should be eating a hamburger with French fries. That's why.
You're looking good. You look skinny and fit. You got your trainer. You're looking good.
Well,
All right, great one.
Thank
Thanks.
you. You don't look too bad either.
You got the ball started. Landmark Legal did, and by going forward with the Inspector General report, thanks for doing that and shedding some light on an important issue. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank our lawyers. God bless.